UK politician Andy Burnham could now challenge British Prime Minister Keir Starmer for the leadership of the governing Labour Party, and the country having resoundingly won the election as the Member of Parliament for Makerfield. Thursday's by-election, the equivalent of a special election in the US, was triggered with the sole purpose of providing a path to 10 Downing Street for Burnham, the mayor of Greater Manchester, who is widely seen as the Labour politician best placed to unseat the embattled Prime Minister.
Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham has cruised to victory in a high-stakes by-election in Northern England, paving the way for him to challenge Prime Minister Keir Starmer for the leadership of the Labour Party and the United Kingdom. Burnham handily defeated his closest challenger, Robert Kenyon, the candidate for the Anti-Immigration Reform UK, in the seat of Makerfield. Vote results showed early on Friday, securing the House of Commons seat he needs to mount a bid for the Prime Ministership.
Things have moved rapidly where the Iran-US Memorandum of Understanding is concerned. While the physical document was supposed to be signed in Switzerland today, the main stakeholders, including the American and Iranian presidents, have already put their signatures on the digital dotted line, with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif adding his as mediator. Now, if all goes as planned, the actual negotiations will kick off in the rarefied environs of Bürgenstock, with Washington and Tehran's representatives getting down to the more difficult task of how to implement the 14-point MOU. While no physical copy of the deal is available, the details contained in media reports, said to be read out to journalists by a US official, make for interesting reading. For all its bluster targeted at the Iranian government in the run-up to and during the war, if even half of these points are agreed to, the Trump administration would have given Tehran a better deal than the Obama-era JCPOA.
6 BN are earmarked for uplift, 90 BN for non-development expenditures, 13 BN allocated for trauma centre in Quetta Quetta. The Balochistan government has increased health sector funding and allocated 96 billion for the fiscal year 2026-27, reflecting a 30% rise compared to the current year's Rs 71 BN.
Islamabad, a parliamentary committee on Thursday continued its deliberations on the Finance Bill 2026, examining proposals related to sales tax exemptions, import regulations, income tax amendments, digital tax administration, and sector-specific concessions. A meeting of the National Assembly's Standing Committee on Finance, chaired by Naveed Kamar, took up 3 key proposals for discussion, including the expansion of sales tax on retail prices, 15-year tax exemption for Pakistan International Airlines, PA, and the removal of taxes on stationery items.
Harare, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwean lawmakers have approved a bill that would replace direct presidential elections with a vote by parliament. A proposal that supporters say would promote policy continuity, but that opponents fear could weaken democratic accountability and further entrench the ruling party's grip on power. I just cannot believe that these are the people who want to elect a president on behalf of everyone. Barnabas Gura, a 38-year-old from Harare's Glenview suburb, told Al Jazeera. Deductive AI, a startup that uses AI to catch and resolve bugs in software, has agreed to be sold to enterprise software company Elastic for up to $85 million, according to a person with knowledge of the deal. Deductive, which was founded in 2023, came out stealth last November when it announced a $7.5 million seed round led by CRV with participation from Databricks Ventures, Tomvest Ventures and PrimeSet. The investment valued the startup at $33 million, according to PitchBook.
As India cut off access to messaging app Telegram for a week over concerns about exam-related fraud, users turned to virtual private networks, VPNs, and alternative messaging apps in unusually large numbers. App intelligence firm AppFigures told TechCrunch that Tuesday, the day India announced the Telegram restriction, marked the biggest day for VPN app downloads in the country since at least the start of 2025. Downloads of major VPN apps rose 49% from a recent daily average of 139,000 to 208,000, the firm said. National CERT Pakistan has issued a high-severity cybersecurity advisory warning that attackers are actively exploiting a critical security vulnerability in a widely used corporate VPN system from Palo Alto Networks. The flaw, tracked as CVE 2026-0257, affects the global Protect VPN portal and gateway components running on Pan OS software. According to the advisory, the issue can allow attackers to bypass authentication mechanisms and gain unauthorized access to VPN sessions without requiring any user interaction.
A federal judge in the United States has ordered the release of Salah Sarsour, a Muslim leader who says his detention by immigration authorities was a form of retaliation for his outspoken support of Palestine. On Thursday, U.S. District Judge James Patrick Hanlon ruled that Sarsour had raised a substantial claim that he was targeted for speech protected under the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. That, in turn, could render his detention unlawful.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif on Thursday approved an extension of the federal government's austerity measures until June 30. According to an official notification issued by the Cabinet Division, the existing cost-cutting policies will continue for the extended period as part of ongoing fiscal discipline efforts.
US Vice President J.D. Vance has criticized certain members of the Israeli cabinet over their recent personal remarks targeting US President Donald Trump. He said such statements are inappropriate given the strategic relationship between the two countries. Federal police in Brazil have carried out more than a dozen raids as part of a widening corruption investigation, including one targeting a senator closely allied with President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. On Thursday, Brazilian police released a statement saying 18 search and seizure warrants were executed in the federal district of Brasilia, as well as the states of Bahia and Sao Paulo.
Cuba's Communist Party has approved a raft of unprecedented free market measures as part of an emergency economic package. The package was submitted to the country's National Assembly on Thursday, where it is all but assured to pass. United States President Donald Trump has taken to social media to boast about the state of the economy amid a looming peace deal between the US and Iran, which yesterday signed a Memorandum of Understanding, OU. In a post on his social media platform, Truth Social,
the president claimed that oil is flowing and added that the stock markets are roaring, jobs are at records, prices are at dropping kits, and prices are badability.
AI inference company Basen is close to finalizing a stunning $1.5 billion of funding round at a $13 billion valuation, the WSJ reports. Just 5 months ago, the startup announced that it had raised a $300 million Series E at a $5 billion valuation. And that round was just 9 months after raising a $150 million Series D. If finalized, this latest round would represent a 160% increase in valuation in less than half a year. However, the WSJ reports that this is a split-priced round, a tactic startups are using to boost their headline valuation and make lead investors look good on paper. Some investors in this latest funding round are reportedly coming in at a $13 billion valuation, while others at $11 billion, sources told the Journal. This deal is said to be co-led by Spark Capital, Sands Capital, Altimeter Capital and Wellington Management.
Super subs Johan Manzambi and Ruben Vagos fired Switzerland to a 4-1 win over 10-man Bosnia-Herzegovina in a late rush of goals in Los Angeles on Thursday. The result gave the Swiss a strong chance of reaching the knockout round as one of the top 2 teams in Group B.
The US has dropped its naval blockade of Iran after the two countries signed a deal to end the war in the Middle East, despite Iran's supreme leader saying he had a different view and that Donald Trump signed the deal out of desperation. US Central Command confirmed the lifting of the blockade on X in accordance with the president's direction, and US enforcement of the blockade has ceased.
Lionel Messi's father is recovering from a health issue and evolving favourably. His family said in a statement. The family said on Thursday that Jorge was under medical follow-up and asked for privacy. It did not specify the nature of the health issue.
Iran's supreme leader says he initially disagreed with the recently signed memorandum of understanding between Tehran and Washington, but ultimately approved it after receiving assurances from Iran's leadership that the country's interests would be protected. In a written statement carried by Iranian state media on Thursday, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei said he had a different opinion on the agreement, but granted permission after President Masoud Pezeshkian and other officials pledged to safeguard the rights of the Iranian nation and the resistance front, and accepted responsibility for the deal.
Washington, D.C. A few months ago, it would have been unthinkable for a mainstream politician in the United States, let alone a Republican senator, to acknowledge Iran's right to self-defense. But on Wednesday, that's exactly what Senator Roger Marshall did. I think that they have to be able to defend themselves, he told the news channel CNN. Neymar has been ruled out of Brazil's second World Cup match because of a lingering calf injury, the Brazilian Football Confederation has confirmed. The forward will not travel with the rest of the squad for their Group C match against Haiti in Philadelphia, the federation said in a statement on Thursday.
Snap will be spinning off an internal generative AI video team into a separate company. The new company, dubbed Dotmo, will focus on developing AI models that can create interactive gaming experiences. Snap told TechCrunch. Snap cited the high costs of conducting such work internally as one of the reasons for the spin-off.
The Punjab Revenue Authority has sealed multiple branches of fast food chain KFC in Lahore over alleged tax non-compliance. According to official sources, 5 KFC branches in Lahore have been sealed, including the DHA EAM and DHAZ block outlets. The United States military says that it has lifted its naval blockade of Iranian ports, part of an agreement between the US and Iran suspending military operations during a period of negotiations. US Central Command, CENTCOM, said on Thursday that all US blockade efforts have ceased, but that its forces will remain in the area to ensure compliance with the agreement.
Provision in a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, to end the US-Israel war with Iran has become the latest political flashpoint in Washington, with President Donald Trump defending the commitment to create a $300 BN reconstruction plan for Iran. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance both sought to reassure on Thursday that the commitment would not be funded by US taxpayers. Still, several Democrats and a handful of Republicans have seized on the planned fund at a time when affordability and economic populism have dominated the country's electoral politics. An international coalition of countries has warned at the United Nations Human Rights Council that Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, could imminently escalate an assault on the central city of El Obeid. The statement, delivered by Norway, was presented on behalf of the Coalition for Atrocity Prevention and Justice for Sudan, comprising Britain, Canada, France, Germany, Ireland, the Netherlands and Sierra Leone, which said they were also joined by 21 other countries.
Rivian has been sued over allegations that the EV maker made false claims about the autonomous driving capabilities of its R1T truck and R1S SUV models. The class action complaint, which was filed Wednesday in the US District Court for the Central District of California, focuses on the first-generation models of the R1T and R1S and claims that Rivian represented that these flagship vehicles would be capable of hands-free, eyes-off driving.
With each new season comes another YC Demo Day. On Tuesday, the Spring 2026 cohort was unveiled, filled with defence tech, robotics, AI infrastructure and developer tools, and of course AI agents themselves. TechCrunch spoke to 8 investors to determine which ones were the hottest companies in this batch, both the ones they were watching and the startups they heard other VCs couldn't get enough of. This list consists primarily of companies that had been flagged by at least 2 investors as the buzziest in the batch. OpenAI is bringing on some big names to the team in the lead up to its public debut. Google DeepMind AI legend Noam Shazier and former Trump White House AI policy official Dean Ball. Shazier, a co-lead at Gemini and the founder of AI role-playing startup Character AI, announced his departure on Wednesday. He had been at Google since 2000, leaving only for a 3-year period when he left to co-found Character AI. 2 years ago, Google rehired Shazier in a $2.7 billion deal that gave the tech giant access to the startup's technology.